for 40 minutes. Hey, prayer alarm. All right, so welcome with a lot of dark secrets and dark plans unfolding in the government. Of course, Wetangula has come out to actually reveal something that is not very clear to many people. And we are asking ourselves, is he into vying as a presidential candidate or is he into supporting the government? But automatically, Wetangula is an opportunist. However much you will say that when it comes to the Luhya people, they'll always abuse their leaders. I'm like, who chose you to be their leader? You are the speaker indeed, but that is not what all the Luhyas chose. Now, one thing about the leaders, they claim they are not tribal. But when they stand up, they must insinuate something tribal. And that is why, ladies and gentlemen, you've heard me many times here saying that in Kenya, tribalism is like part of our behavior. That is why you go to job interviews and there is no question that should be asked about where you come from, but people will obviously scrutinize your name. They'll obviously ask you whether you came from a certain destination, and they'll ask you whether you're married in a certain community or not. So away from that, let's check on what our... Of course, currently, Wetangula is insinuating that he's going to work for the government day and night alongside his allies, Oparanya, and who else? They'll be moving in the western Nyanza coast and other places talking to the people. And let's just hear this. This is the dark political mathematics. Now, my question is, if you look at Bungoma, actually, I would wish somebody to tell me what Wetangula has done for the Bungoma people. Because all I've heard from a distance is that he went and bought a certain quarry that he knew would be really beneficial to the owner of the land at a low cost and then benefited from it. The other aspect is that he has actually had to benefit his own family and make sure that his kids study from abroad. But I just would wish to know what he has done for Western at large to say that people should be celebrating him. You know, you cannot just be a leader and you go in government even for 3 years. Wetangula has been in government for so long, guys, and at some point in opposition. But then we have to be told what exactly has he done for the people. Because we are tired of hearing people just making us fools, making us sit and listen to them parroting, you know, holding the microphones, trying to blow the trumpet, trying to insinuate that the Luhya people are not united. Unity that comes to celebrate, you know, leaders who are mediocre is not worth it, you know. So according to Wetangula, he says that other societies don't abuse their leaders, but the Luhyas do. And I was like, okay, are you talking about NATEMBEYA? Are you talking about, let's say, Sifuna? Are you also addressing Boni Halwale? Or who exactly are you addressing? Because some of these leaders are very funny. When they stand up with the microphone, all they have to do is to point fingers. I would wish the day when I would just see leaders standing and saying what they have done and what they are planning to do and initiate projects. But all they do is to go to places and try to castigize others and demonize others as they praise themselves and prove a point. So far, I wouldn't say that Wetangula has done much for Western, in my perspective anyway. Because when you look at Bungoma itself as a town, and maybe the entire Bungoma, I would wait to see people praising him for whatever project he has done. And once I see that, then I'll be so satisfied that he's worth a leader. But when he comes out to begin campaigning for 2027, insinuating he's going to travel across the countries with Oparanya and who else? Did he mention Andai or somebody? That means they're just joining hands as people have been looting and hooting in parliament. So they are ready to actually eat from our sweat. And they are very happy that people can maybe ignorantly again vote them in. Because when you look at him, he has been surviving as an MP, and all that. Then later on, he's picked to be a speaker, and he feels like he's heirs. So the recent craft that was happening has become a silent deal. Silent. So there is a silent plot again, a dangerous one that is coming up. If you listen at what Wetangula is saying, let's go for it. Let's listen to this, guys.
2027 is what is going to determine our 2032. Vile tutasimama pamoja na tunataka mtuachilie Oparanya, Wetana au wengine, tunakuja nyumbani, tunaongea, mnatuachilia kwenda kutengeneza urafiki kwingine. Tuende Rift Valley, tuweke urafiki. Tuende Nyanza, tuweke urafiki. Tuende Pwani, tuweke urafiki. Tuende Northeastern, tuweke urafiki. Ili tukifika nafasi yetu, watakumbuka ya kwamba sisi tuliweka mabega, wakapanda, nao pia waweke mabega, tupande.
So guys, ladies and gentlemen of honor, what did you just hear Wetangula saying? What did he say? When I look deep into what he's saying, he's trying to prove that he's going to support the ODM Kenya Kwanza government that actually wants to vie for 2027 position. And when he talks about the shoulders, he is ready that somebody steps on his shoulders to be where he will be. And of course, this is just the same thing in relation to the shares aspect that Gachagua had been talking about, something we don't approve of. We don't approve of that. Dawid Jigna, nzuri sana na yako. Dawid Jigna, nzuri sana. Natumai we pia umzima. All right. So, looking at what Wetangula is saying, it's quite clear, beyond any reasonable doubt, that he's trying to prove to us that he's there to campaign for the, government in the forthcoming elections. Of course, he's a beneficiary of the current government. And remember, he was also in the House when all these graft aspects were happening. So he cannot talk against the government. And even when he tried to say something like the parliament is a house of honor and they need to be respected. You remember that time after they were, pointing fingers at each other? It was all a game that was made to make it look like they are really fighting against corruption when they cannot. All right? Now that it's a thing that has been institutionalized and systemized, and a fact that they can say the judiciary is complex matter to handle such a scenario, and the fact that whistleblowers have not been protected, they knew nothing is going to move a bit, even a step. Thank you for the like. Somebody gave me a like and I really appreciate. Yeah, and if you have not liked the video, if you've not subscribed to the channel, if you've not shared my videos or watched any other, kindly do so. All right, so it's David Jigna who says he has liked the video. I really appreciate David Jigna. Big up to you. Thank you so much for being such a lovely, follower, and also considering what we as performers or analysts on these channels really need. Thank you so much. God bless David Jigna. Yeah. So when you look into such matters whereby a politician comes out speaking and trying to insinuate that he is representing a certain tribe, and yet if another one speaks, then they say they are tribalist. What are we saying in Kenya? What are we actually saying? I just find it amusing, ironical at the same time, because why should you say that a certain tribe should stand with I don't know who? We are supposed to be tribeless, just as Kenyans. Let people work with ideologies. Whether you are a tribe or not, go with ideologies. What are people saying? What are these leaders representing? What can they do for our nation? And if only we begin reasoning at that point, We don't have to really abuse leaders. If they are doing wrong, we just do away with them through the power of voting. We don't have to abuse them, but we can actually expose what they are doing that is wrong. And once people are aware, they should stay away from such people and vote against them. As easy as that. Okay? Yeah, so let's get to another video that he actually talked. There's a video here. He was talking and I was listening at it wondering, what is he actually saying here? Let's check this.
Huwezi kuona mjalo akitusi Raila. Ukienda hapa mlimani, huwezi kupata Mkale akitusi Rais Ruto. Ukienda Ukambani, hata na upungufu wake, hakuna Mkamba anatusi Kalonzo.
You can now complete your British Master degree entirely online in just 1 year.
Okay, hapa Wakoli Fort Kenya. Mambo ya madoadoa katika mkoa wa Magharibi 2027 tutaweka na tumesema tuko na viongozi wetu hapa. Vile Bishop amesema, upende usipende. Kiongozi namba 3 katika Jamhuri ya Kenya ni Speaker Moses
like his guns.
You can be penny wise but pound foolish. Politically, ndugu na dada wa ANC, let us not be penny wise and pound foolish. Let us be part of a bigger formation. Jambo langu la pili, ni nani aliweka sahihi ya gazeti ya mimi kuwa prime cabinet? Signature ni ya nani? Sasa mimi nataka niwaulize, kweli mnaona inaweza kuwa haki mimi niko prime cabinet secretary alafu tena mimi nasimamisha candidate kupingana na yule ameweka kidole ya mimi kuwa prime? It is a serious conflict of interest.
Okay, a serious conflict of interest. As you can see that, ladies and gentlemen, you clearly understand that there is a selfish aspect in power. When anybody endorses the other to become a powerful individual in Kenya, that is it. So you see clearly that some leaders they are not representing us but representing themselves, and that is why they cannot say the truth. That is why they cannot come out clean even when matters are not working. Now you see the example of how Mudavadi is expressing himself, indicating that because he was actually given a signature by the current president to become part of the cabinet, then he cannot stand against the government. Now guys, what does that tell us as citizens? It tells us that we are the others while the leaders are on the other side. And this is something that people have never understood for very long. Many people think that we have leaders representing us, but unfortunately, the reality is that leaders represent themselves. And when opposition member to be close to them so that they can survive, they'll do it. They'll go for it, even if it means collecting taxes out of our sweat and blood. They'll go for it. Sure, they'll go for it. They'll have to do all that they have to do, and they'll create even positions we do not know about. They'll be dancing and celebrating, taking wine, while we take dirty water. That is the reality that citizens have to realize. If we don't realize this, we are blind. And we'll keep complaining year after year. We'll keep voting wrong people. We'll keep complaining and maybe pointing fingers at fellow citizens instead of looking at these leaders and investigating into who they represent. Because the reality is that a percentage of them don't represent us. They just represent themselves and their families. They represent themselves as people who can now have diplomatic passports to travel wherever they want. They can now afford to take their children in different continents, while we, the citizens, are languishing in poverty. while we citizens are complaining day after day. So the only solution is we should understand the nitty-gritties of politics and politicians. There are politicians, a lot of politicians than leaders, when you look at our governance. And that is why we are failing a lot big time, because most of these leaders are selfish, driven by selfish aspects. If I may ask you, when I start a war with someone because I fought or they fought me, is that really a representation I'm doing, or is it self-driven? It's just a question I'm asking. To answer me. All right? Mystery 496. I've seen you now for the third time. Welcome here. Thank you so much for showing up. Like the video, and I really appreciate. I've had 3 likes, and I really appreciate those who gave the likes. And even before I proceed, let me remind you to like the video, subscribe, and follow. I know that people will be coming by slowly. It's in the evening and people choose different aspects to watch. But I really appreciate those who come handy on my channel, Life Saga TV, and watch what we are doing. Because through them, we are growing slowly. Our target is 1,000 subscribers. We'll get there one day. I really have faith in that. Yeah. So now, before we proceed, let's look at another dark secret in Kalonzo. As Kalonzo had to leak. Kalonzo has come out to leak a dark secret again. And today is about leaks, and silent dark plans. Before we get to other stories, let's hear this. Let's just listen to this. Kalonzo Musyoka speaking. All right. In Machakos.
Rais Ruto amesema leo tukiwa hapa, yani tukiwa hapa, ameongea maneno ambayo lazima niajibu nisiajibu. Amesema tuma viongozi wa makanisa, akiwa hapa Metabone, amewatuma waje waongee na viongozi. I imagine nikiwemo mimi, ingawaji sina elective anything, yeah, ati tumekataa mipangilio yake ya maendeleo, ndio akatuma mabisho, maaskofu. Now first of all, let me give you a charge, Duncan, because now you see hiyo kofia kwamba wewe ni mtoto wangu. Don't fall into that trap ya William Ruto ya kuwatumia maaskofu wakubwa wa kutoka eneo hili, awapatie mahelikopta wazunguke nayo kila mahali, waende State House, wakae na yeye kando pale, waambiwe nendeni mukaconvince Kalonzo Musyoka ajiunge na yeye, wasiharibu wakati wao.
Those are shenanigans in politics, guys. And yesterday, of course, you saw Gachagua addressing Ruto and saying that if he wants to reach Kalonzo Musyoka, he should go through him, because these are matters of house, and he is the spokesperson of the house. Very, very humorous, right? So, ladies and gentlemen, you've heard now Kalonzo Musyoka speaking today. Yesterday, it was Gachagua who spoke about that matter. And now today, we've heard Kalonzo Musyoka speaking about it. Automatically, Ruto knows that Kalonzo, if picked as the opposition leader, and if people really mean business with one term, he will have to be elected. Kalonzo Musyoka is not the first time he's trying to vie for presidential position. And I really wish that if people trust that he can be the leader, let them give him the mantle of the opposition, so that we don't have a situation where in Kenya, leaders will always believe that you can be a president for 2 terms. We have just seen an example of Malawi. Malawi has shown us that the way. Yeah? They are like the Messiah. So, not the Messiah, but Joan. You know? They have prepared the way for the forthcoming Messiah. So we can actually be the second to do the best for our nation if indeed we believe that the economy is not going positive, if we believe that looting has become the highest order of the day, And bribery has become public, with people going to the State House, listening for a whole day and receiving 10,000 Kenyan shillings. Anyway, let's listen to what Ruto said here.
Pale mbeleni watu walikuwa wanasema hatutaki maendeleo, hatutaki soko, sio hatutaki affordable housing, hatutaki. Nikaita hawa maaskofu. Tunaelewana? Nikaita hawa maaskofu, wakakuja ofisini, kaambia maaskofu, sikizeni. Ukambani ni Kenya. Msijifanye watu wa upinzani kuliko wale wa upinzani. Nyinyi mnanielewa? Yes. Si nyinyi mlipigia kura Raila Odinga? Wengi wenu. Si ndio? Lakini huko Homa Bay, Migori, Siaya, Kisumu tunajenga soko nyingi kwa sababu wamekubali mapema kuliko zile zinajenga hapa. Nyinyi bado mnapinga maana. Hiyo inaitwa nini? Nyinyi mnanielewa? Mimi nataka nishukuru wao maaskofu. Walikuja wakaongea na viongozi wa sehemu hii. Sasa affordable housing inaendelea, markets inaendelea, mambo ile ingine inaendelea. Nyinyi mnanielewa jameni? And that is why nilisema hapo mbeleni, kwa mbinu zote tutafanya maendeleo kwa hii Ukambani. Kwa sababu mimi siwezi.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, when you look at the aspect of development in Kenya, indeed, markets have to be built. Roads have to be built. But we have different needs depending on different places. Housing has to be done. But then, we have different needs also in different places. When you look at places like Taita Taveta and also Ukambani, there is a problem with water. A really serious problem with water. So even though the president says that progress has to be done, should progress be universal across the country? Because there are places where their needs are not actually markets and houses. Because people actually have their land and they're building in their homes. So when the president insists that housing is continuing, markets are continuing, is that a genuine aspect of progress? And he reminds people in his speech, do you understand me? Do you understand me? Now, my question is, what does he want people to understand? Because most of the leaders are actually complaining about the choice of projects that the counties don't need. Some of the choices of the projects, like housing, is not needed in every county. When you look at Taita Taveta, as I've said, and coast in general, as well as northeastern, even northeastern and eastern regions, what they need is water. I've traveled up to Garissa. I've lived in Ukambani, that is before between Machakos and Kitui. I've also lived somewhere when you are passing Kibwezi, somewhere there. I've been in Taita Taveta, I've been in Coast also, Mombasa. And the greatest problem that those people have is water. So if water was provided to them, they could be so glad and they could do some project that are stalled. You know. The other problem, of course, that some places have. Now, like you go to Nyandarua, Nyandarua has a problem with the roads. All right? The roads are so poor. Yeah, so let's proceed. We are having a funeral, and therefore sometimes when calls are made, you cannot decline. You just have to listen to whoever is calling before you can proceed, so that you don't look like you are arrogant or ignoring or dismissive. So I hope you understand. So let's proceed. So I was talking about something here before I received the call. Yeah. So I was just talking about our leaders and how they are really playing power politics. And I'm like, I hope you really are targeting to make our life better, you know? Yeah, because you look at Kalonzo Musyoka, he's actually focusing on that change that we want. But he has been there for quite a long time. He has been there for generations. If I may ask, the people from Ukambani, you have statistics about Kalonzo and you understand whether he has done well or poorly. So make us make a better choice so that we don't just opt to pick somebody. Then tomorrow they become presidents and they arrogantly address us, tell us that they inherited a government that had a lot of problems. They inherited a government in debt, as if they not knowing that that will be there, and as if the promises they made were made when they are blind, because they know automatically what is there. So if a president has to come out, or a presidential candidate, they have no excuse. They should not give us excuses. We just want to see work and work. Meanwhile, let's listen to Matiang, because we had Kalonzo Musyoka, Matiang, and we saw Kioni in Kajiado. So in Kajiado, we had those leaders there, and they were given the Masai sheet. Let's just listen to one by one as we talk about it. So of course, Matiang spoke, and this is what he had to say.
After the elections, if we do not register to vote. So please, let us stop agonizing. Let us organize. Tujipange. Tuzungumze kidogo, tuende kwa kazi. Na kazi ni kujisajili kama wapiga kura, ili tuwe tayari sasa kubadili uongozi wa nchi yetu. Tunaweza kubadili haya maneno na kura zetu. Tuamuke asubuhi tuende tupige kura. Na vijana, tangu the faces, let's stop now talking about what has happened. We have seen what has happened. We have internalized the challenges. We have the solutions on how we will sort this thing out. But we will not provide that solution without votes. Yale mambo mazuri yamefanyika Malawi, yamefanywa na kura.
Imagine conducting every part of your research only on one platform. Meet Boreum, your AI.
Now, let us have a repeat performance. Tuchukue kura, tujiandae, tuzungumze kidogo, tufanye kazi ile iko. Mheshimiwa Kibaki alikuwa anasema tufanye kazi ile iko. Na kazi ile iko ni hii. Chukueni kura. Tunataka sasa hii safari ikamilike vizuri.
All right, so Matiang has decided to use the example of Malawi, whereby, of course, one term applied. And away from that, Matiang is actually doing voter education. Most times in Kenya, there is no voter education. So most people want leaders, but they don't go to vote. And they don't go to vote because they don't take the voters' cards. Because you cannot fail to have a voter's card and go vote for anybody. So that problem has been happening. And at some point we are disillusioned. And with disillusionment, people fail to go vote. And when they fail to vote, then that happens. So Matiang'i decided in Kajiado to say that our talks are enough. All we have to begin is voter education and again sensitize the voters on what they need to go for. If they have been complaining about inflation, they have been complaining about a failure to get customers buying their goods, they should ask themselves whether that is related to the leaders, the politicians. I don't call them leaders. Leaders cannot make us fail. Leaders cannot actually lead us in the wrong direction. So many people we have in the governance are just politicians who are self-driven, you know, selfish, self-seekers, driven to acquire that power and hold it for whatever reasons, you know. So let's also listen to what Kalonzo Musyoka said at Kajiado.
Whiteboards every day to transform the way we bring videos to life. As a fully remote agency, whiteboards let us collaborate in real time.
All right.
Ni wenzetu we are the same. So we speak our mind freely. So don't think that we'll adulterate the altar. We would not. You are my brother, you are my friend. This is why mimi kuamua kufika hapa leo, niliwaeleza niko njiani, ametuma salamu zake vile vile. Mheshimiwa JB Muturi, nilifaidika kufanya kazi naye kama makamu wake kwa miaka 5, na yale ambayo tulianzisha na mzee Kibaki, kama angekuwa yamedhibitiwa na wenzetu ambao walichukua baadaye, wakiwemo wale wako kwa mamlaka sasa hivi, nchi ingekuwa imenyoroka. Na mimi najiunga na Fred na wenzetu hapa kusema kila mtu mwenye jinsi, tunajua zaidi ya vijana milioni 6 hawana kitambulisho na vile vile ID, kuwa na ID alafu 29 mwezi huu.
Now, unfortunately, in Kenya, an ID now you need about 1050 Kenyan shillings, 1,050 Kenyan shillings. That will be a blockage to many people on acquisition of ID. At the same time, it will become a problem to actually having the voters card. I just hope there will be a method to be established for people to have voters cards and IDs. Anyway, far from that, let's look at something else. Yeah, so there is a lot of confusion in State House, of course. If we can talk about it, you are seeing that there's a lot of confusion, with many people now taking the State House as a place to go and receive 10,000 Kenyan shillings. And I'm seeing a scenario whereby maybe the future leaders, people will be expecting that from them. And once we embrace that, then we'll have systematized bribery as a form of making our decisions in the voters' ballot. I just hope that people are picking, but they will not use that as a way to actually pick a leader, you know. Yeah, so in the same meeting, of course, Kione was there. Let me see. Let me make you understand what he said here.
Your Excellency Kalonzo Musyoka, tulikuwa na huyu muungano kwa law school. Karibu sana.
Where? You just walk as if you don't know what you are doing. Please switch off the computer. Please switch off the computer.
Naona pia naonekana. Mimi naitwa Jeremiah Kioni, na Yesu Kristo ni Bwana na Mwokozi wa maisha yangu. Tunashukuru sana Bishop kwa mwaliko wako leo hapa, na nikiongea niko na heshima kuwa mbele yako na mbele ya viongozi tulionao hapa, Mheshimiwa Matiang'i, Your Excellency Kalonzo Musyoka, there na waona wote. Tafadhali kwa heshima, kwa sababu kwa hivyo raundi hii hatutaki na unajua tumesubiriwa miaka 3 kotini. Nao hata Kalonzo chama na chama yake wako mbele, kwa sababu sisi sasa ndio tunataka kuanza boli na tutaanza tumeituliza. Na when we were with
All right. So the life sagas will continue. In Kenya. They will continue. What did NATEMBEYA have to say? Of course, NATEMBEYA had to reveal something.
Almost 99% of the population.
So NATEMBEYA actually got out to say that the president called him and told him that he should join the government. And he refused, saying that it's a rotten government, he cannot join it. So let's just go into this before we come to the KIRK Charlie report.
What for that small percent, that's less than 1%, that's really enjoying what's happening there. You know, you'll campaign during elections and then disappear for 5 years. Come back with some little money. In Western, when you give somebody 50 shillings, they'll vote for you. It's a lot of money. I believe that people have challenged people in a meeting that wale watu ambao wako na shilingi 100 here, can you move aside and I add you another 100? In a meeting of 3,000 people, and nobody will stand up. But they've got no money. After
That's the level of poverty I'm talking about. And this poverty, as I said, is orchestrated. Keep them down so that you can manage them. These leaders are very, very extremely insecure. That's why you see the way they are responding with a lot of violence, as you say, because they're very, very secure. They don't want Kenya to raise very, very uncomfortable questions, because we're asking them to account for their time in these positions, and they're not able. And when even you play clips, they used to say, oh, when I get into power, I'll get 30% of this, I'll get 30% of that, I'll be doing this, we're going to get our police recruited. You know, they were just lying. They don't want anybody to say such a thing, so you keep quiet, because they'll come up with new promises in 2027. They'll say, no, if we come up, come after 5 years, you know, you've made a little money, and then, but they don't want that. That's what I'm saying. That one has put me into a bit of problem.
Governor, you say that you are man of the people. You want to change the status quo, and the problem here, the devil, is poverty. And as you've gone around speaking with the locals, what are they telling you? Because at the end of the day, you say you're here to serve the people. Have they received the information that you're giving them? Because remember, when you're doing the tour,
the local police, you know, they join these people, and they light fires on the road, they light the tires, and basically ensure that we don't proceed to Chwele. Actually, we're just about less than a kilometer to Chwele. And then we come, and then we want to ask, really, what is the issue here?
Change significantly. What I really like about the U of A is that it's such a big school, but I also get that significantly.
There will be a revolution.
Okay.
There will be a serious revolution. In fact, for me, my daily prayer every day I wake up is for Kenya to start outlining their problems with the kind of political leaders they have. The moment the Kenyans just do that, we are going to have change in this country. So like when you go to the market to go and buy a cow, people are very thorough. You don't even know the history. You know, which breed is this, how much. I've balanced that way. If I was to behave the way the national government behaves and say, how did they acquire them, asking them, okay, as we are saying, RUTO must go. What alternative to do, what in terms of plans do we have to sort out these issues? Because if we took over.
All right, so of course NATEMBEYA within that video shared his failure to join the current government because he says it's rotten. But away from that, let's join international aspects. And of course, all of you know that KIRK, Charlie, was a very close ally to the current President Trump, and he was shot. Yeah, so I did a reaction on this, but now I'm doing a newly shared information. It's alleged that Charlie KIRK was actually killed by Tyler Robinson. All right. So based on a newly discovered body cam video from 2022, that is the revelation that has come out, and let's look at this.
Who's driver? You the driver? Yeah. Can you tell me just really quick what happened?
I was coming this way and we just passed through and he pulled out from here, or no, from there, I think.
Do you remember which lane you were in?
I was in one of those two lanes going this way. I think in the right, in the rightmost lane coming this way.
Okay.
And he would have been there going left. And as I was coming through, he turned in and I T-boned into the side.
Okay. Do you remember looking at the light?
Yeah, it just turned yellow as I was getting into the intersection.
Gotcha. Okay, are either one of you injured in any way, shape, or form? No, nothing hurts? Okay, do you have your registration and proof of insurance on your vehicle?
Yeah, so the webcam video showed that he was actually tailing KIRK in some video there.
He doesn't have a copy right now.
And of course, now the speculations show clearly that he may be the person behind the death of KIRK. Alright? Of course, you can watch the entire video and get to see about it, but let's look at the comment and see.
Did you make a statement saying that it was your fault?
No.
What's that?
No. When I got out, I was like worried, so I just went out and was like, yeah, it wasn't your fault, it was our fault, we were messed up. And I first went up to him and to check on him.
Okay. You said that to him? Yeah. Okay. Well, what do you mean by that?
I think it was just trying, like, not to...
Okay, because you guys have a couple different versions about what happened. So we had a third party witness that watched the entire thing. I'm just trying to clarify your guys' story a little bit.
So you realize that he was lying to the police. When he was giving information, he was lying to the police. For whatever intentions he had, this boy, Taylor Robinson, he was a very young boy. But actually, with whatever intention he had to do away with KIRK Charles, it's not very clear. But Tyson has done something that has ruined the life of not just one family, but even his. Yeah. So you can imagine what his family is thinking about for such a boy and what he made to do, you know? Yeah. So the passenger confirms that he was at fault and not the other driver, but he lies to the police and he had a major character flaws in 3 years ago. So he lies and talks about the red flag and all that while the brother tells the truth. And maybe between 2022 and now he was plotting to kill KIRK. And finally he did it. Of course, you saw that video recently. Okay? Yeah, he was not even able to drive. And he had a lot of hate. I think so. So he ended up doing that. So you realize that Charlie's wife and kids and parents are suffering because of the decision this young boy made, you know? Yeah, so dealing with the murdering of Charlie KIRK will be a very challenging thing. And let's wait for whatever will come out. But this is the end of our video, a political analysis as we see the killer begging the judge not to give him the death sentence. Let's look at this.
We don't let anything get under our skin. Even when bleeding, we're winning. Always be like number one.
Also, following the press
Yeah, let's
conference,
listen to
I am
that
filing
as
a
the
notice of
last
intent to
part.
seek the death penalty.
The moment Tyler Robinson learned of his sentence, he immediately begged the judge for leniency, insisting he hadn't acted alone. He claimed he was ready to expose the person who gave the orders, but when he revealed the name, it left the entire courtroom frozen in disbelief. Now, no one knows what to believe. Here's the full story. Inside the courtroom, Tyler James Robinson, 22 years old, sat motionless in his green anti-suicide vest, staring directly into the camera with what observers... Robinson prepared a family-gifted bolt-action rifle, assembling it by 12:17 p.m. and settling into a prone sniper position at 12:22 p.m., leaving physical evidence of his setup. At that moment, approximately 15 minutes into the event, Charlie KIRK was in the middle of answering what would be his final question. The topic was tragically ironic. KIRK was responding to a question about mass shootings by transgender individuals. As the words left his mouth, discussing the very type of violence that had become all too common in American society, Tyler Robinson was taking aim at his head. At 12:23, Mountain Daylight Time, a single gunshot rang out across the Utah Valley University campus.
Yeah, so it was a tragic end of KIRK, actually in the university campus while taking his interview and on the matters gun and the shooting of people, and he had to die in this fate. So let's end this, and thank you for having watched. Bye bye for now.